Hey, everybody, it's Ashley McAllister here,
And Matthew Ali.
and we're here with another episode of Honest to Pod a little bit later this week because Ashley here had a cold that lasted literally, it must have lasted like 12 hours.
Well, I think it's ridiculous that no matter what my voice sounds like, and it's always rough on a Monday, I managed to make it.
I
So,
had I had no voice.
mm, I don't, okay, well,
From
I think you need to just man up a little bit.
that that phrase is offensive these
It's one of my
days.
faves.
Man up.
Yep,
Wow.
because you should have made it, bitch. But it's
I
okay.
know. I would.
I
It
had to
is
change
more.
my entire week, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Sickness happens. Sickness happens, and I was just literally saying to you before we started recording. I blame the heat, all this artificial heat now. It's just disgusting.
It's not good for you, honestly.
It's not. I don't. I don't. I'd rather. No, I don't like it. I don't mind it in the evenings, but like when I get to the office, the heat is boiling, and you get in there, and you have to just shred all your layers you put in because you're. So I hate autumn. You don't know what to wear. It's hot. It's cold. It rains. It's dry. It's just
But
a
how did
big
you get
old
to work?
a drive.
Oh, it's not like the tube then. Why are you getting all wrapped up?
Well, I sometimes walk. I used to walk more, but then I've got the car and I've got lazy now.
So you're in the car, there's no need to wrap up, and then you go in the building. You can literally be in shorts the entire time.
Well, no,
Why
you
not?
can't because it's actually cold outside. Anyway, well, guess what happened to me last weekend? I guess.
Can I guess? Do I know?
No, you don't.
Oh, what
I
happened
got,
to you?
I got another flat tire on my car.
Another one.
Yes, that's two this month.
Is
The
that all the pies?
exact same wheel. What?
That is all the pies that you're eating. The extra weight. Roast dinners. They're
Well,
brutal.
no.
Okay. That's
I
offensive. I'll take it.
but
Push
you,
it back.
I, d- I did buy an apple pie at the weekend, a gluten-free apple pie from one of our local shops. It was so delicious. My mom was like, "Can I have a slice?" I was like, and I'm like talking like it was a
The
big
entire
apple pie.
pie. Hold on. You questioned whether she can have any part of the.
It was so yummy.
Did you eat the pie in one go?
No, it was over 3 sittings.
Okay, fair enough. You should have
Yeah,
given us though,
I give her a bit.
a sliver.
It was a couple of crumbs left over on my plate.
You don't put custard on it, then, do you?
I sometimes would have custard. I would never have ice cream. I don't like ice cream and things.
This is what I'm trying to say. Because like nowadays, everyone's so posh and fancy that custard seems to have like died them. And pie and ice cream, or like crumble and ice cream,
Mhm.
is awful. And I think it's such a mistake, and it really annoys me because they don't do custard in places anymore. And custard's amazing. No one can deny
Custard,
it's not amazing.
custard's good. Ice cream to me should not be served with anything. It should be served by itself. I don't think it goes with other dishes.
I don't agree with that, but I don't
What,
think it should be
what,
with hot things.
I don't. It doesn't go with hot thing. What would you serve ice cream with? It doesn't. Like, it doesn't go with jelly.
It does
No.
not go with jelly. You're completely right about that.
And
I don't get it. They just mix into this weird thing. Like,
yeah, no, no. To me, ice cream goes with nothing except itself.
which is great. Ice cream is great by itself. I do believe it can go with some things, though. I will say that. Like,
Mm,
only chocolate cake, I guess, that I can think of.
only chocolate cake.
But I agree
A
with
lot
you.
of people have. A lot of people have a chocolate brownie with a hot chocolate brownie with a dollop of ice cream on top.
I've had that before. I prefer cream
Which,
though, or like clotted cream,
yeah,
mascarpone cheese. Oh my god, it's so good. Do you know what
mm.
mascarpone cheese is like?
I should know what mascarpone cheese is.
I mean, people make like set cheesecakes from it.
Yes, yeah. I've made cheesecake with mascarpone cheese.
Yeah, you get mascarpone with just honey, and it's amazing.
I'm getting hungry. I can.
I want something sweet. I had the biggest dinner, but I still want more food, so I might get something sweet after this.
Well, I'm in the process of planning Christmas dinner. I'm just like planning out what desserts we're gonna have and stuff like that. So I've just been all about like what I did a test run of a chocolate tart a couple of weeks ago. It went well.
I imagine you only make gluten-free ones, like you won't even touch flour.
No, I won't. Like my mom, like even my mom was like the other day. She goes, "Oh, do you mind getting a loaf of bread?" And I'm like, "Yes, I mind." I don't want to get a loaf of bread.
from the shop.
Yeah.
Like a whole like biomedical
Yeah. Yep.
Your mum doesn't know who you are, bitch. I swear every week she's like asking these questions. You're a stranger in this household.
I said I can't remember what I said. It leads on to what I'm going to talk about later. Okay, I'll talk about it later. But I just said something to my mom, and she was just like, "You are so peculiar as a kid," and I'm like, "Thanks, mom."
You're peculiar now, to be honest.
Well, I think she just, as her kid, I'm a peculiar person. I think that's what she meant.
You are funny, but it's just weird that you're a stranger to her in your own house. Like,
Yeah. It's because I lived away so long, and I try and refrain my
you've
craziness.
been there for 2.5 years.
I know, but I try and refrain it because I know it. I know a lot of the stuff I do annoys her because I'm so particular about stuff, and I know she doesn't like it because she's so used to her ways, and we clash a lot.
I don't know what we were talking about, how we got into all of this. But
Who knows? Should we just get
you
into
got a flat
something?
tire, you said.
Such a detour.
Isn't that weird? It's like our first episode where there's like no correlation to what we're talking about.
Yeah. Anyways,
I don't know who said it the other day, and I'm going to go on another tangent. No, but someone was like, "Oh, I was listening to your first episode the other day," and it's just so funny how like it's different now what we do, and then the first one was obviously just word vomit everywhere, and there's like no structure. At least we have something that resembles a structure now.
yeah. Well, the first episode was unedited as well, so all the ums and the ahs.
Okay, how was your week?
What a week. How was your? I've talked about my fat tire. I've talked about everything. You tell me about your weekend. What did you get up to the weekend? And
I've had a really funny week actually. I can't say it's been a good one. Because sometimes I find myself in like a weird like mental space, and I'm just not sure how to deal with it. And that was one of those weeks. So I've not been sleeping very well, been quite tired, and like like a bit. The only way I can describe it is in my feelings, So I'm finding it hard to feel like motivated because, like, just over the weekend, and I don't know, I had to sort of break up with a friend for the first time properly.
Oh.
Because just our relationship is not like healthy for me, and
Okay.
I've really been struggling for it for a long time. So I found that really, really hard, and it's sort of been playing on my mind for quite a few days. Well, since now, even now, to be honest. And then I told you before that I've been having anxiety for like the past sort of 2 years or so,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sort of just come back this week. And when I start getting that feeling in my like chest, I find it really hard to. I'm not super motivated in general, but when I'm inside myself, I find it really hard to get out of it. And that's one of those weeks. So like, I'm not sleeping. All I'm doing is just thinking all the time. And then like, everything is bad as opposed to like actually having perspective,
Mm-hmm.
So this week has been not great feeling wise, which is a shame.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah. I just don't know what to do. Like in this particular situation, I just didn't know what to do. And I tried different things. What it comes down to is, the reason why you won't understand. But remember I told you, obviously, like I really liked you when I first met you, and the same with Jordan, right?
Yeah.
I was able to get out of that and like continue with the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I felt this way about like my friend for ages, but I can't seem to get past it. So I decided that I just have to sort of be out of my life completely.
That's fine. I think you made the right decision. I think there's no point putting yourself in a friendship position which is just hurting you. So
yeah, it is. It's really hard.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I've been
when
there.
You know that the person is not going to be able to give you back what you want, and it's not their fault either.
No.
I end up behaving stupid. I end up being like really sensitive over things that I would never get upset over. You know?
And you overanalyze yourself and everything you do.
I guess it's unfair to the person. It's not their fault, but I guess in this case, I need to do what's better for me, which is still really hard. Is just to be like, I can't seem to get past my own feelings and actually justify our relationship. It's making me feel worse about myself, confidence-wise, and things like that. And it just made this week kind of really frustrating and really hard, actually.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't like it when people go through tough times.
Yeah. I don't like it either. But yeah, so...
Should we get into some things?
Let's get into some topics.
Three things I want to talk about this week. Two really quick things. One is, did you know that upcoming is International Men's Day?
I don't even know what that is.
Yep, awareness isn't great about it. International Men's Day is November the 19th. So have you heard of International Women's Day?
No.
Oh, wow. Well, that's not that bad then. You're totally switched off to everything.
I probably have. I just don't know when it is or, you know.
Yeah. So International Men's Day is November the 19th, obviously coming up.
3 days before my birthday.
Is it?
Mm.
Oh, there we go. International Men's Day, November 19th. I shared something on my Facebook. Somebody in our town is organizing, which I think is really, really good. Organizing a kind of a coffee evening for men to go to and just chat about things like anxiety and stuff like that. Meet other people, and it's just, it sounds nice.
For straight men?
Yeah, straight men. It's not a gay thing at all. In my head, it sounds something that would be like a gay blind date or something like that. Let's go have, you know what I mean? Like,
I hope people go to it. Will you go to it?
I'll definitely go. It's run by one of the guys. One of the guys who runs the gym is going.
That's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, no, it is. It is, and it came around because there's a guy who goes to our gym, and he's really athletic. He's like a builder. He's married with three or four kids. I can't remember, and he posted a video a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, where he was talking about, it's like a 20-minute long video, and he talks about how he's recently been helped through anxiety. And he was at the point where he was ready to break, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't understand what these feelings were. He spent his life manning up, to use your words. And he
Sounds
never
like,
just.
to be honest.
Sorry?
Sounds like kind of what I'm going through, or how I've behaved.
Yeah, no, it's not easy, and I think it's hard for people to process these emotions. But he made this 20-minute video talking about it. The guy who runs the gym, his mom is a psychologist, like a counselor. It turned out that the guy who made this video went to see the other guy's mom, and he's in a much better place now. He knows how to deal with his stuff. But his video he posted has had over 27,000 views. And all he did was post it on his own page. He's got like 300 friends, but because people have shared it, liked it, and shared it, it's just gained momentum, which is pretty awesome, because you look at this guy and you wouldn't look at him and think you'd expect him to be having anxiety issues, or he seems like he's at the top of his game, but you never know. You can't look at somebody and say, what are they going through? So
absolutely not. Yeah.
So off the back of that, there's been a few people in our gym whose family members have gone through tough times, and like there's been we're for some reason we're quite high up here with suicide rates, and we've had different people have brushes with suicide in different formats.
Lima Valley in particular, or just saying in the North?
Well, I think no, I wouldn't say Lima Valley, but definitely the Northwest Coast. Like I think it's crazy how many suicides there are. I mean, Northern Ireland itself is the highest rate of suicide in the UK.
Do you think that can be hereditary in some way? Like,
I think they can be, but yeah. So Northern Ireland's the highest rate of suicide in the UK, but it also receives the least amount of funding from the government to help prevent it and create awareness around it. So I don't know if the new budget's changed. I know the new budget was released a couple of days ago, so I don't know if it's changed. But I don't know. Northern Ireland, my boss says he thinks it's because we don't get enough sunlight. My boss literally buys us vitamin D supplements for our office because he thinks we need to be taking vitamin D, which increases your immune system and also increases your mood.
Sounds like it could be true. I do believe in the sun being like essential for life.
Yeah, no, and yeah, well, he buys his vitamin D. So I don't know. It's just weird. I think we also live in a time at the minute where everything just seems to be crazy. I feel like the world is bubbling at the minute with everything goes on here, like the uncertainty around Brexit. I mean, who actually knows what Brexit is? we live in a world where everything just seems to be on edge.
I feel like my work situation like reflects like how I perceive the world as well. And so I think it is all part of a mental state. Like, you know how you feel like the world is bubbling over at this point in time?
Yeah.
I think that obviously our perception is important in these situations, but it tends to link a lot of things together. Like the way that you feel about things that are happening around you is how you might feel about the overall world in general, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess you're also the way you experience your day to day life changes your perspective. You're probably more inclined to pick up on things on the wider scope of the world that kind of you're familiar with.
Absolutely. That's what I think. I based on nothing, but I feel like that's my experience of it as well.
Yeah. So anyway, the point of this International Men's Day, for example, some of the stats on the things they give are 76% of suicides are men, 85% of homelessness is men, 70% of homicide victims are men, 40% of domestic abuse victims are men. Men are the majority of victims of violent crime. Men on average serve 64% longer in prison. Men on average are 3.4 times more likely to be imprisoned than women when both committing the same crime.
In the UK, this is based on...
This is UK stats, I believe, yeah.
Did you say 75% of people that commit suicide are men?
76% of suicides are men.
Total suicides and all age ranges.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I mean, I don't know where these stats are coming from. They're just in the post that was shared with...
3/4 of suicides.
Yeah. But I knew men had... I mean, again, I don't know where these stats are coming from. I'm just reading them off the post that was shared about this coffee.
You wrote them on.
I made them up. No, I wouldn't. Let's not joke about it. But regardless, I mean, they're if the stats aren't right, I don't think... I mean, the last time I looked at stats, I did know men are more likely to commit suicide. I do know there are more homeless men. I do know men serve longer in prison than women for the same crime. It's it's crazy. I know like things like family court favors women over men. There's things out there, and I think a lot of... I mean, there's a really interesting documentary called The Red Pill, and it sort of talks about from a feminist point of view. She went out to investigate the men's rights movement, which feminists, extreme feminists, not all feminists, would deem as a hate group, because they look at it, because they're pushing men's rights, it's against what the feminists are fighting for. But it's only when this feminist got in and kind of discovered what they're actually talking about, and it is things like why are men serving longer sentences in prison for the same crime? Like, it doesn't make sense, and things like that, and homelessness, and why is there not more to do with men's health around in the doctor surgeries? And it's true. I after I watched the documentary, I went over to... I didn't go over for this reason. I was in the doctors anyway, and when you look at this notice board, there's like all these little pamphlets and up, and about 75 to 80% of the pamphlets up there were for women's health. And there was a little pamphlet about prostate cancer, and there was a leaflet about testicle cancer, but everything else was about women. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Obviously, women's health is important as well, but it's just when you're dealing with an audience of men who maybe not all men, but definitely a lot of them don't like talking about health, don't like talking about feelings, don't like doing stuff. You need to kind of build that bridge for them.
It is interesting, I guess, because like even on our podcast and things in general, we talk about like the marginalized groups, and we talk about ethnic minorities and LGBTQ and like women, but everybody needs to, in that same vein, you need to make sure that men are also looked after. And I'm quite interested by the fact that if this is the first time, I wonder what people celebrated World Men's Day before then, because I can't imagine it's super celebrated.
No, I mean, I know it's been around. I remember it was either last year or the year before. There was a lady politician in Parliament. I think some guy had brought something to the table to say something like, on Women's International Women's Day, we sit and we have an open forum to talk about women's issues like health and domestic abuse. why his proposal was to do the same about men, and the woman on the committee that he's presenting this to, the politician, she laughed at him and said, "I think it's ludicrous that you don't think men have a voice." And the guy made the right distinction to say, "No, I'm not saying men don't have a voice. I'm saying we don't talk about men's issues." And then she pushed it back again, and it was her attitude. Like, she laughed at it, which I just thought was a bit of a wrong. And then she sort of said, "Oh, I don't think men's like suicide rate or homelessness is. I'm not laughing at that. I just think it's funny that you don't think you have a voice." So anyway,
it's a different issue. It's not a voice. It's the
topic.
Comfort. Yeah, it's like the comfort to speak about it, because it might be a stigma where men are supposed to be men. And obviously I said man up. And I don't actually, it's the first time I said that in a while, because I used to say it as a joke and stuff. I still said it. But that kind of term is actually really, I understand that it is really, really bad. I don't think it sets the right tone, because that's what it's saying, isn't it? Men need to be strong in a way and not actually be ill, even though you may not have been that ill.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't. I didn't take offense at your man up comment.
No, I didn't think.
And I also don't. I mean, I can understand the argument for the man up term, but to me, and again, I know some people will argue against it, but I think to ban the phrases like man up because of toxic masculinity, I think it's a step too far. You're not, I don't think you should be teaching your kid that it's not okay to cry and that they should man up, or if you're teaching your kid or your boy or whoever it is that they have to be tough and not show emotion, that's not right. But the phrase man up, I can understand why it's sort of frowned upon, but at the same time I'd be like, does it really matter if you're getting into semantics of man up? It's, it's I don't think it was a negative thing. Men just by genetics are stronger than women.
Stop it.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not saying all men are stronger than all women.
No, it's not the fact. Man up isn't about the fact that men are stronger than women. That's not like why you shouldn't say man up. It's because it's like saying, well, why don't you say woman up? Because women have a higher pain for tolerance and actually might deal with being ill more, because obviously there's like man flu and stuff, which is still bad in itself. But it's not about the fact that men are stronger than women. It's like,
don't cry over this.
Yeah, if you're saying be a man, then you're almost saying don't be a woman. In one respect, it could be, but it's so. Do you know what? It's quite funny they say this, because yesterday, right? Because it could be any phrase, and depends on who finds it offensive. I think that people need to be more sensitive towards other people, and so it's not about banning the word, but almost knowing who you're saying it towards and having a bit of like say if we'd never met and I said it to you, or I went to someone that I'd never met and said just man up, I think it would be inappropriate. I know you. I don't believe, I have some sort of context or understanding that it would be offensive to you, right? So yesterday I was at this pub quiz, and I'd never met my work friends before. It was the first time. And it was a bunch of I would say stereotypical, almost caricaturish lads from the south of England, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are that bird, all this sort of stuff, right? It couldn't have been written any clearer, honestly. And one of them was like, "Oh, my friend who's a puff." Then my friend who's friends with him was like, "Don't you shouldn't say that. That's that. It's quite offensive. People don't say that anymore." And he was like, "Well, I don't think it's offensive. My friend's a puff, and he doesn't think it's offensive."
Mm.
And then he asked me, "Is that do you think it's offensive?" And I was like, "I really do. I'd prefer if you didn't say it." And he was like, "Oh, people shouldn't be so sensitive. You can't say things these days anymore." And it's kind of like what we just said last week and this week, where you're saying, well, it's a step too far. It's not really a step too far if I am on the receiving end and I find it inappropriate. I think you should be more respectful of my view if I find it offensive, because he didn't find it offensive. He thought it was okay to use. He also thought because someone else that he described, who he believes we're the same just because we're both homosexual, that it was okay to say that. So if I know that you're a man and I go to another man and say you should man up, despite the fact that you're both men, it's not okay.
No, I think the context is important.
Yeah.
But
for sure. If someone said to you, "Don't tell me to man up," and you said, "I think that's a step too far," I'd be like, that's insensitive, actually.
But I would never use a phrase like that to somebody I didn't know. Like, for example, you using it to me is fine. I didn't get offended by it because you know me and you know I wouldn't care. But if you used it to me and somebody else stepped in and said, actually, that term is really offensive, I'd be that person. Mind your business. Thank you.
Which is fair on your part, but if they're saying it to me, I should be more respectful of that person's view.
Well, I mean, this is to me is where it becomes a step too far. Because I totally get why you want to be respectful of that person's view, but at the same time, in my opinion, if we were to walk around worrying about everybody else's, I mean, you send to me, man up, just a bit of banter. It was, you're making fun of me because I made a massive scene about a cold. Fair enough. You're right. You're right. It doesn't matter. It's not their business. I don't see why you should make our friendship not have that connection because somebody else might get offended. If you knew them and you knew they would, like, for example, if you knew that they don't like that, or what if maybe the man ups are not the right example in this case, but for example, if before they had pointed out to you, I don't like that phrase because of this reason, and you still went on to say it, then yeah, bad form. But if you send it to me and somebody else butts in, and like, I wouldn't say you should have to limit yourself out of worry of offending somebody who you don't know.
So if I said it again, then it would be a problem.
Well, if they pointed out to you and said, actually, that's really offensive, I would say you should be like, oh, well, I'll not say around you.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think that bit is fair. What I don't like is if it's a step too far, because I think then the idea is that we can't know whether people will be upset or offended by what you say or not, right? In the grand scheme of things. But if someone expresses what they don't like, I think one thing that is important that we need to do, and this is actually a grand scheme of things in society, when I see politicians talking and debating, I think there's a huge lack of respect. I think that we need to try and be more respectful of other people's views, even to those that we really don't agree with. So this person yesterday, I don't agree with him at all, right? I don't agree that we should be able to say what we want when we want to, no matter who we want. That he can speak to me or other people and call me a perf or make racist remarks is okay. But I don't think that this person is homophobic or racist. And if they had their views, I would not say that they're completely wrong for their views. I would say I don't agree with it. And I'd want to understand why they feel this way. Like, obviously, there's things that happened in their past. But if we don't try and have a certain level of respect, then I think that, I think that's missing in, like, the world, I guess.
Yeah, I think if I was in your situation and he, said the word, I would think so little of him that he thinks it's okay to use that word.
I got so angry yesterday.
But I would then choose not to hang around with that person again.
Yeah, I didn't want to make a scene yesterday, right? Because my friend who's also gay said, like, he's like, I'm not offended by it, but I can see what other people were. And then I was a bit like, really? Okay, well. And then when he asked me, and I was like, yeah, no, I think I wouldn't want you using that word. I think it's bad. I think your views about offending people's wrong. He kept on going on, kept on saying it. And I was getting more and more frustrated. So I had to leave because I don't want to have an argument. I don't want to try and change someone's views who is not important to me.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think it's going to work. So I had to leave. And then obviously, that made more of a bloody impact than actually him saying his words, which is annoying. But I just found it really, really hard to contain myself. Like, I literally had to walk out. I had to leave. Otherwise, I was just getting more and more frustrated. I think maybe because I was saying I was having a hard week as well. Although I don't think I was wrong. It just added to, like, my frustrations over this week. Not to make it about myself. I'm doing an Ashley.
That's really offensive.
I don't care.
That's a step too far. Anyway, I just want for example, I didn't want to talk. We've talked about this for like 20 minutes. I didn't mean to talk about this for 20 minutes.
We always say we're going to we'll just do a short little thing, and it ends up being just like monumental.
But basically, my takeaway from it is if you're in the vicinity of International Men's Day coffee evening or whatever it might be, whatever format it might be, yeah, maybe join in if you can, or just maybe read up about it because I think it's interesting to understand.
I hope it has a great turnout, and
yeah, I'll keep you posted. Other things I want to just quickly talk about.
You got more topics?
Well, these are very quick, little sort of like little mini updates. So I don't know if you remember a very few episodes into when we started this, we talked about an American politician called Ted Hickman, I think he was called.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that wanted to start the SPAM, which is Straight People Americans, whatever it was. He has now been voted out of office as of yesterday.
Nice.
Nice. My boo,
Mabu.
Brian Sims, has been voted back in.
Yay!
Yay, Brian.
He's got a horrible moustache at the moment, though. I'm so sorry. I know he listens every week. He doesn't.
He's
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan.
He also bleached his hair, which I'm not. I
Makes him
don't.
look a lot older.
I don't mind it in the summer, but we're now into the winter months, Brian. Could you please unbleach it? I just think that's important. But yes, so that's a great. And I also, obviously, the other. I think what's interesting is the people that are being voted into office over in the States is a true representation of what the States is like. There's more females, more people of color, LGBT. It's fascinating. Also, the other interesting one is the person in Colorado who refused to make the gay wedding cake for the gay couple. His governor is now gay. So, karma.
That doesn't mean anything. It's not like this person's going to be like, now I'm your governor. I will destroy your business.
Or it's does it?
Karma, like
the gay governor sitting there tweezing his ass like, what evil concoction can I do this week?
Revenge. That's why.
You can raise the taxes and make them go out of business.
On bakeries.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay.
I would introduce an LGBT tax. You don't get taxed for being gay.
You make it like a federal crime if you refuse, like, to make anyone's cake of any kind.
I'd make it a federal crime if cake was made that wasn't gluten-free. Yeah, and the other thing I was mentioned to you before, personal space. So I don't know, like this has happened to me 3 times this week, right? I felt like my personal space has been invaded in comical reasons, and these are like twice today at the gym, and once. Right, get this, the other day. So in our office, we share our office kitchen with another office, and the other office provides a service where there's a waiting room. Yeah, so people come and it's appointments, so you have to come and wait for your appointment. So,
okay.
The other day I came into work and I was going out to the kitchen, and there was a gentleman sat, and he smelled a bit. He didn't smell of body odor. It was stale cigarettes. It was horrible. Do you know what I mean? And he was sat there, and he was
like, but no, still, like, it's fresh smoke, really. Like, he would have had like 3 while he was waiting outside and came straight in.
Well, this smelled like he'd been smoking in these clothes, and the clothes were, filling the air in the waiting room, which I have to walk through to get to the kitchen. So I walked past, and I sort of smelt, and I was like, oh. Then said hello and walked past, and then I sort of walked back. I don't know what I was doing, something in the kitchen. I walked back, and as I walked back, he slurped. He was drinking tea, and he slurped, and I was like, oh. Like it was a really noisy slurp. I kind of gave a bit of a side eye over, and then I realized that he is drinking out of my cup.
What?
Yep. So my cup would have been in the kitchen that we share, and he had picked up my cup and drunk it. Obviously not knowing that it was my cup. He just went to the kitchen.
Amazing.
Well, the cup's dead to me now. I can never use it again. I
was so hoping you said, well, what I did was I tipped the teacup. I said, give me mine's back. I wish you did
that. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. No, I just give him a side eye. And I was like, oh, my cup. But I just looked at it, and when people who smoke have their white hairs and their mustache turn a different color?
I didn't know that.
I think if people smoke excessively, like pipes or whatever it might be, you can get a bit of a coloring. People smoke cigarettes, their fingers can turn yellow.
But I don't think people smoke enough nowadays. That's when people did like 40 a day, isn't it?
Well, this guy's mustache was white with brown over his lips. And I just looked over, and those mustachy lips were wrapping themselves around the rim of my cup, and
Did you see it afterwards? Did you wash it?
I so no, I didn't wash it. Somebody had washed it and set it to the side, like to dry in a little thing. And I felt like I was abandoning a kid because I thought I'm never going to use you again.
Are you, what are you going to do?
I went out and bought a new cup.
You should write on the old one then for guests. And then write on your one, not for guests.
Well, now I bring my cup into my desk every night.
It only happened today. What do you mean now you do it?
Well, no, this happened Tuesday, Monday or
Okay.
Tuesday. Yeah.
I think
So
now you do it. It's like,
now I bring it in. And then, well, the stuff today at
just
the
that
gym.
one time you're going to start bringing it with you. You're so extreme.
Well, is that extreme? Because to me, it's like, I don't want to use that cup. I'm not going to use that. I don't know who you are. I don't know where your lips have been.
Do you know what's really funny though? I bet you that's not the first time the cut's been used.
Probably that's what worried me. That's what worried
It's
me.
definitely happened more than 3 or 4 times. I'd say 10
I'll never sleep again.
every other day. Are there days that you don't have the cup?
No, I use the cup every day. I'd usually the first thing I do when I get in would usually be to make myself a hot lemon water.
What?
Yeah, I'm in the mood for drinking hot lemon water every morning.
I mean, that's supposed to be good for your metabolism. Is that why?
Yeah, I'm healthy these days. I do the gym. I don't know if you know, but I go to the gym quite often, and
So what happened at the gym, you're saying?
Oh, well, these things at the gym weren't really like. Basically, today we were doing stuff, and somebody else in the gym was doing something in front of me.
It was a woman, wasn't it?
It was a woman.
See, because if it was a man, you'd be like, guess just what happened to me.
It was,
Man.
it was a woman. But everybody, so we're doing this movement, and she kept taking steps back every single time. And then I was like, all right, it happens sometimes you lose your balance, you go back. But then you roll yourself forward, you roll your bar forward again, and you do it again. She never seemed to roll she was kept going back. So I kept moving myself back. And then I was encroaching in the space of the person behind me. And there were so many bars flying about the place. I got so nervous. I stopped working out. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know what I can do because I'm squeezed in between these two people who are flying their bars about.
Why didn't you say something? Like, oh, excuse me.
Because it was her first day and I didn't want to like make her feel bad.
You'd rather just be passive aggressive and now whine about it. And now she'll never know.
Well, hopefully somebody else will say something to her.
You need to open your mouth.
Yeah. I'm usually quite quiet.
This is why this is how you lot behave. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to bring a race straight into it.
Oh.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
See, I would have been like, no, I wouldn't have been because I didn't do anything. I just sat and looked at them like, yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I'll just move my space. Anyway, I didn't have anything to talk about and I've talked for like 35 minutes.
Well done.
Yeah.
That is someone like you.
Let's talk about you.
I'm going to try and keep mine short, so to no success that will happen. But I want to talk about an article that I'd seen at the beginning of this week, and it was about this this guy who is called Anthony Ekundayo Lennon.
What's the middle name?
Ekundayo. And he is a director in theatres.
Yep.
And he's just recently won like a scholarship or some sort of job. It's not a scholarship, it's kind of a placement that is meant to be for mixed heritage people working in the industry. The thing is
what's his middle name again?
Ekundayo.
Sounds really Irish to me.
It does sound really Irish. It's because he is Irish.
Ekundayo is not an Irish name.
No, he changed his name. I can't remember where he changed it from though.
Well, he just added that name in, didn't he? He just thought, for the shits and giggles, I'll add this name in.
So he's a director and an actor, and he just won this placement for that's supposed to promote mixed heritage people, and he's white. People are like, there's a lot of backlash because this is supposed to be for people of color, and he says, well, not that he says. I mean, you've seen a picture of him after I mentioned it, I imagine. He says that all of his life he's been treated like a black person because he looks black, even though his parents are completely Irish, white Irish. And so he says that because he's been treated that way, that he's a born again African and that he has the same allowances as people of color.
Yeah, and what do you say to that?
I think it's ridiculous.
So are you? So he basically identifies as black. Is that right?
In this situation, to get the award, he identifies as black.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the guy looks white to me. Looking at him, he looks white.
he says that he is treated like a black person, and he gave himself that middle name so that he could apply for this position, and he got it because
Yeah, I
he
mean,
changed to mixed heritage instead of white.
the photo that is used. I mean, yes, they probably added
A few filters.
the filter makes it look darker than what it is, but it looks like it's just taken in a dark room. But he still looks white. I don't look at him and think,
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult because, like, I mean, I thought race was genetic, but you
yeah,
might appear a certain color. So, do you know what I did read though, just before we came onto this, is there's an article in the Spectator by a mixed race person.
but it's interesting. It's interesting because you can have twins born, and one be white and one be black.
Well, so this article in the Spectator by someone called Lyndon Kem Karen, she's mixed race,
Yeah,
and she's like, well, aren't they the same?
or what the same.
Then one is born black and one is born white, but they're from the same parents. Why is one white and why is one black if they've got the same
Genetic.
heritage?
Yeah.
Because then they're not one is white and one is black. Both are mixed. So she's like, just because someone appears a certain way doesn't mean. Although it does come from appearances, I guess, really, when you think about it, because you can either outwardly be a person of color or not, and people will judge that by the way that you look, right?
Yeah, and I think going back to when black people were slaves. I remember there's a story of the woman who had a very tan skin. The baby wasn't very black, and this baby was able to pass as a white kid because
Was
it's
she
just
black?
yeah. Well, the mom was black. The mom was a black slave, and the dad was a white slave owner.
Oh, okay.
But the daughter was able to pass as a white girl.
But I do think it's quite well. Although I don't agree with this article, she was like, "Why is there an awards that is given out to people of color and not allowed for white people? Shouldn't it go on your talent and experience?"
Merit, yeah, of course, I would say that.
But the issue is, I think it's difficult with merit because I still think that there's subconscious bias. I think that's a thing, and so you do need to make a conscious effort to include a diverse range of people in all aspects of life, right? Whether people choose to or not, I think that in some instances, not all, that the reason why you need to promote things like this is because there is a subconscious bias towards or in favor of, as you know, certain demographics.
The way I'd approach it is, and this is an argument I have in my head. I totally think in an equal world that the job shouldn't just be given to somebody based on them being a minority. They
Right.
should be based on their credentials and the fact that they would do a better job.
Yeah, I agree.
But I also think that there's people in this world who have sadly been held back through generations and through time, and they've never been given the right opportunity to have that experience. So I think there should be a more important, to me, equality isn't the fact that anybody can apply for the job and the person who has the right credentials should get the job. Yes, that's important. But for me, equality should be that we should live in a world that no matter who you are, your background, you should have the experience to go for that job.
But we're not in that place, right?
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it is important to have things that are favoring minorities and people who have been held back. Like we work with a research company which is all about women in research, and it's all about like making giving women the tools they need to grow their career. I think that's brilliant because women have been held back from the CEOs and the chief, and I think I'm in favor of that.
In this industry, though, where acting is based on your appearance as well, and say if his appearance seems less white somehow than that of a white person, he's saying he's not given the same opportunities, and he's been treated the same way as black people because he looks like it, so he's not getting the same opportunities as his other white counterparts, and that's why he's due this position.
Yeah,
I don't know his experience. I don't know whether he's lost roles because he doesn't look as white as someone else. Do you think that would still give him the right? Do you think? I mean, he's got this position. It's not going to change. But do you still think that's okay?
That's a tough one.
I guess you have to know, really, isn't it? What happened?
It's a tough one because I don't know. I mean, he claims he's been held back, but unless I see, for example, how many jobs he's applied for and how many he's been like, no, you don't look white enough for this role, I can't make a judgment. To me, I mean, logically, it seems fair that if he's saying he's been held back because people, it seems to me like if it was me in that position, I would probably do the same thing because it's better in me. Do you know what I mean? I'm in the position where, if I can get away with it, I'm going to do it.
Right.
Because if I've been held back, I'm not saying take it away from him. If it was me, I could get away with it, I would definitely do the same because it's all about better, especially in an industry like acting where it's so hard to get ahead and you need what you can get.
I understand that bit, and if you've been treated that way, but if he's got an all-white Irish family and then puts him down as mixed heritage, that is just lying, right?
It is. I mean, it is lying.
African when you have no relation to Africa.
I seem to be the one that says everything's wrong, but if he chooses to identify as black, we live in a world where we should embrace that? I'm asking. I'm not saying we should. I'm saying, should we live in a world that embraces that?
So this is where we get cray-cray, because now we're saying people can identify as another gender. Why can't they identify as another race? But one is, and then we're saying one is genetic and one isn't. But then gender is genetic, right?
We see. I would say
your gender, pardon me, your sex is genetic. So you're changing something that was initially genetic.
Yes.
Essentially, I guess your outward body.
Yeah, you're changing.
I don't know how your mind works in terms of genetics. So I don't understand, like, if your mechanics of your brain is a genetic thing.
Yeah, to me, then genetic comes from your genes, but then there's the argument as well, like emotions come from your genes because your emotions come from the brain that are made up of cells, made up of genes. So, like, you can dig deep into it, but essentially, to me, physically, if somebody is born physically a male and they identify as a female, genetics have given them male body, but they want a female body. If it's put onto race, somebody's genetically born black or white, and they feel like they identify more as a white or black person, depending on the swap. Is there an argument to support that? Because it is how you mentally perceive yourself versus what you're physically born into.
I think that's where it becomes quite difficult because I think race and sex are the same. Gender and ethnicity are the same.
Break that down for us.
So your sex is whether you have like a penis or a vagina or whatever at birth in some way, right?
I have a penis.
Your gender is whether you're like male or female.
Yep.
Okay. And so someone who changes their body and their mind is that they are a female, even though their body is male, and they change it, that's fine. But because I've always questioned this as well, right? If we're thinking like your gender is non-binary, it's non-binary and it's fluid, right? Those that change from a male to female, they almost make an excessive. I wonder, do they play a character of a female sometimes where women must put on all of the makeup and, must have long hair and must wear dresses? Because that's one end of the spectrum, isn't it? I think there's an argument that that's why I think non-binary is actually a really good thing, because I think sometimes when people change, they transition, it's to an extreme of what they think a woman has been almost in the past. isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
where you must wear makeup, wear tight clothes, look really sexy because that's what they think women should be. When, you know, women aren't like that anymore. And there was a really good example. I thought it was a good example of someone who was was female to male on Queer Eye, the second series. I can't remember what his name is, but he still feels like he has feminine traits and embraces that part. So even though he identifies as male,
Mm.
isn't like so far to the point where it's like toxic masculinity male because I need to let everybody know I'm a man.
But this ties into what we were saying a couple of weeks ago, where us two, we feel we're a mix of masculine and feminine. Some of our personality is more masculine, some of it's more feminine, and I
You
think
think you're
it's
completely masculine?
no,
Mask.
no. Look at me and my finger shaking right now to you.
You don't know yourself. Your mum don't even know you. That's why she doesn't know who you are because you don't know who you are.
But like I said, like we were saying, we have a mix of masc and feminine in our personality traits, and I think that's like I wouldn't change my personality. I think I'm a hoot.
I think there's some sort of relation there. I don't think that race is binary. I think that, but I don't think it's so clear cut because, like, I have to, but quite often I'll just settle and say that I'm black. When I don't feel black per se, I think I'm mixed race, mixed heritage, but
Mm-hmm.
my ethnicity or the way that I behave isn't dictated by the color of my skin.
So, would you? Interesting question. Say if somebody was had a one black parent and one white parent, what ethnicity would they be? Oh, not ethnicity. What color? What color
What
would
race
they?
would they be?
Yeah, what race would they be?
Mixed race. There's no way of when you break it down. Like you could say, like there's like African, white descent, or Black African,
But
Caribbean African.
they could identify as black, right?
They can. I do.
Could 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 they identify as white?
No.
Why? That what interests me is why is that the case?
I think that goes back to when like to talk about slavery and stuff.
Yeah.
If you were not white, you were different. It wasn't like there's a
Ah,
scale. So if you were
but
mixed race, you were counted. You were still counted in the same way.
but if somebody was had if somebody had a black parent and a white parent, could they say I'm white?
Do you know what's really difficult?
What's up?
It depends on where you are, right? So
Really?
amongst my white friends, I am black. If I'm in a situation where there's a whole bunch of black, not mixed race, both parents are Nigerian or something like that, I am not black,
Right. Okay. Because there's blacker than you.
right? So you're treated differently. Mixed race, actually, you're treated differently in these situations and have been than in both. So it's hard to identify between them both. And that's why I've always struggled because I'm not treated black by the black community. I'm not treated white by the white community.
But not how people treat you. Could you identify as white?
I
If you
change the way that I identify depending on where I am.
okay, but
It's easier for me to, pardon?
would you ever identify as white?
No, I'm not white.
Okay, well, do you think it's fair if somebody who had a black parent and a white parent, would they be able to identify as white?
If their skin was light enough, they might be able to be in a film where they're white, no?
No, but I mean, even if like as much as somebody would, because at the end of the day, this kid is born out of a white parent and a black parent. They have as much white in them as they have black in them.
No, I get what you're saying, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What I'm saying is currently where we're at is with my brown skin, I'm still treated black. It's easier for me to say black than it is to say everything else. There was this woman called Rachel Dozier, and did you check?
Oh,
So she was, I've got it here. So she was the president of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, so the NAACP, which is a group basically that looks after colored people, okay? And it's literally in the words. I'm not even going to try and describe it, pardon me. But she was the president for 10 years, right? And it wasn't until near the end of her reign, like time as president, that people didn't realize that she wasn't black. She's completely white.
yeah.
She thinks that race is non-binary. She thinks it's fluid. She thinks, so she used to darken her skin, she used to afro her hair because she feels like she's black, so she must behave that way. But then that's almost like a caricature of what a black person should look like or be like, right?
Yeah.
It's dressing up.
I just remember Maya Rudolph taking the piss out of her on, I think it was Seth Meyers. Did you ever see that?
No, but I love Maya Rudolph
Oh,
so
brilliant.
much. Have you seen her play Beyonce?
Yes.
Have you seen her do the national anthem?
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's
She's brilliant.
interesting. I think it's an interesting one. I don't think that's an answer yet. I don't think so. I think it's a new thing to think about because I can't answer that question. I think in his situation, I don't think that this person, I don't think Anthony should have changed his. I don't think he should say that he's a born again African because he has no relation to Africa. And I don't believe that he should have
No.
changed his heritage to mixed to get this position. Do you know, I want to go back at some point, not now, to talk about this race thing. Maybe I might look into it more because it is interesting, isn't it? Like
It
this,
is interesting.
like
Yeah.
should he identify? I think it's really interesting. I don't think there's a conclusion yet because I haven't drawn my own one. I just thought, that was in the news, and at this point in time, I don't think that race is non-binary. I don't think it's fluid. I think it's in your genes, but it might be worth looking into it a little bit more. I think. Anyways, thank you everyone for listening to our podcast.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Hopefully you can, especially this race thing, because I'm quite interested by it, and I'd like to know what you think because I haven't formed my opinion yet, and I like to take in other people's thoughts.
Yeah, it'd be good to hear what other people think.
Yes. But we hope you have. So hopefully we'll get this out tomorrow. Hopefully, I guess Friday. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, well, you're editing, so
It's reasonable for me. Yeah. So I'm gonna send it to you. But yeah, hopefully. So we should have it out by Friday. So I know it's a lot of people's commuting thing, so you might get 2 episodes next week. But yeah, have a listen. Let us know what you think, and have a lovely week.
have a lovely week, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.